Morning, everyone. Hi, my name's Leigh. I'm the Head of Customer Success at ScoreApp. I've got my colleague Sarah with me today, so Sarah will give you a wave. So we work in our support team. We help customers get their scorecards up and running, and that can involve, help with the concept through to technical help of building the scorecard, and then advice on launching and optimizing the scorecard as well. So we like to make this a really interactive session. So if anyone's got any questions, please jump in and ask, and just take your mics off at any time. And if anyone would be happy to share their examples of their scorecards with us, then that would be, we'd really, really love that as well. So if you wouldn't mind just popping in the chat, I know you've already completed your scorecard, and I've had a look at those responses that lets me know where you are in the process. But if you could just quickly pop in the chat whether you're sort of launched, building, or not yet started, that's just really useful for me to know before I jump into the webinar. So morning, Ben. I'm going to call you Ben, or if it's Benjamin, apologies. I've got my son's called Benjamin, we call him Ben. So not yet started. Hi Stuart, launched, good. Vicky, not yet started. Morning. Jamie, I've launched, but we could do some optimizing. Stuart, we've got the link, thank you for that. Morning Christian, morning Vicky, not yet started, and morning Stuart. Okay, fab. So we've got a quite a broad range, which is good. So we'll cover all of those areas as well. So let's jump into the platform and get started with today's session. So what we're going to talk about first is the concept for the scorecard. So if you haven't yet started, you might have an idea of your concept, but the beauty of the scorecard is that it can be a really value-added asset for your target audience. So what the big goal that you help your target audience to achieve, the scorecard could be a part of that process, because they can answer a set of questions. At the end, they get a score against how they're doing against that goal, and what else they can do to focus on to fully get there. So it might be, for example, if you're a health and fitness coach, your target customers, they want to be fit and healthy. So your scorecard can be the health and fitness well-being scorecard. Take the questions, see how you score, see what else you can do to improve your score. And at the end, you might use categories such as food, exercise, sleep, and they get all this great information about, how they're doing in each area. And you get to give them loads of great tips and advice that they can take away with them, and you can start building that relationship with them. Also, one of the great advantages of scorecard is that you can then personalize the way that you speak to the people that have completed your scorecard. You know a lot more about them, their pain points, and then you can target all your future communication with them, and making sure that it's tailored and relevant to exactly where they are at the moment. So concept-wise, I'm just going to share my screen, and I've got a few slides here that we can just use to talk about concepts. So we've talked about it being based on that common desire or goal from the target audience. So just to help bring that to life a bit more, we've got some examples here. So if any of you are aware of Daniel Priestley from Dent, they have got a key person of influence scorecard that's been really successful for them. And obviously that desire there is to be the key person of influence. Likewise, you could be a high performing, you want to create that high performing team, so you can create the high performing team scorecard. So it would be just base it on that desire or goal. Or you could flip it and you could base it on that pain or the frustration. So avoid being hacked scorecard, or prevent injury scorecard, prevent weight gain. So it's just a different way of pitching that idea. And if we just go to this slide here, you can see how the concept is the idea of your scorecard, and then it's using that concept to put it into a really enticing headline that's going to hook people into the scorecard. So the concept of this one is helping people with MS, and the headline is, "Are you ready to have success with the MS quiz?" That came out a bit wrong there. Okay, some other ideas for a concept. This one works really well and can be transferred into a headline. Are you ready to? And the examples are you ready to run a marathon? Take the scorecard. Are you ready to quit smoking? Take the scorecard. So they get to answer these questions, see how prepared they are and what else they need to do to fully get there. It may be that there's some seasonal or topical issues that come up. Our score app packages include more than one scorecard. So on the starter, you get 2 live scorecards. On the advanced, you get 6. And on the pro, you get 10 live scorecards. So if you're a fitness instructor and January is a big campaign, you could produce a scorecard for that particular campaign. Scorecards are also really useful, even if you're running an event and like you took the scorecard to register for the setup and score, you can use them for similar things inside your own companies or during an event to get feedback. So lots of different use cases for them. And then finally, Score App obviously can deliver a score and put you into a score tier, tell you how you're doing, but you can also set up high scoring personality or category type tests. So that's, I'm sure you've come across them before. When you answer like mostly A's, it means that you are X, or mostly B's, you are X. So that you can set that up, and the scoring for setting that up is slightly differently. So if anyone's interested in setting that up, I can talk you through how to do that as well. Okay, so that's concept. Has anyone that hasn't got their concept yet, would they like to share with us what they do, and then we can brainstorm some potential concepts? It may be that everyone's kind of got an idea at this stage and we don't need to cover that, but more than happy to help with your concept if you want to just take off your mic and just jump in. Okay, so Vicky, your office technology, have you got a concept yet?
Hi everyone. Yeah, so I'm really early days. I'm just doing the trial, but I'm looking for using it around like a workplace audit. So we have different areas of the business. So we have like the traditional like office print and document management, and then we have elements like space. So we do solutions for like hybrid working, office revamps. There's different areas of the business. We also have an IT support arm. So it's almost like trying to have a couple of questions with my thoughts around those different areas and how they can improve efficiency, because it's all around kind of cost savings and driving efficiencies for businesses. It's quite pertinent at the moment, I guess, with how the economy is going and things like that, and businesses needing to save money.
Yeah. Okay. So it's kind of like, is it your workspace? Is your workspace effective?
Yeah.
Okay. But I suppose, and then you've got the additional that you offer those IT services as well.
Yes, we've got 4 main arms. So we have managed print, which is like photocopiers and printers and things like that.
Yeah.
And document management, so taking paper-based processes and making them electronic, so people can work remotely and flexibly. We've got an IT arm, which is like IT support for small businesses that don't have IT managers in place. Okay. A space area of the business, which is we do home working pods that go in the garden, and we also do kind of office revamps, so reworking their office space and relocations, and then we have a mail room arm as well, so like business mailing, which is like franking machines. So it's like a one-stop shop for all their office technology, is essentially what we provide. Okay,
so office technology. And who's your target audience? Who normally makes the decision on that?
So it's usually MD, kind of FD type owners of the business, reasonably sized businesses. They're not really startups that we work with. It's kind of anywhere company size from kind of 25 employees plus up to kind of around 250.
Okay. So, along the lines of, the office technology cost saving quiz, you could go literally, call it that way. You could use the "Are you ready to?" So, are you ready to drive efficiencies with your office technology?
Yeah.
Take the scorecard. Just trying to think if there's any other elements. I think I would work on those 2 concepts and sort of work it from there. And like the items that you described could be the categories, and we're going to talk about categories in much in more detail. My other recommendation is that perhaps you could break them down and make them even, so you could do a scorecard on the pods and the space itself. And then you could do another one that talks about the office technology.
Yeah, great. No, thank you for that.
Brilliant, thank you. Anybody else would like to talk about their concept? So Sarah suggested a headline as well for you there, Vicky, is your office hybrid ready? So that could be one for the other one. Health guru and addiction eliminator, thinking, are you ready to stop health sabotage? Yeah. So discover your, are you ready to discover your self-sabotage? Yeah, that's an interesting one. So health guru and addiction eliminator. Cool. Vicky, should we talk a little bit more about that? See if we can think of some ideas before we move on.
Hi, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, hi. So what kind of problem is it that you help people to solve? So you're somebody that's with an addiction just to kind of overcome it?
It's mainly food and alcohol issues and the anxiety and all of the stuff that goes along with it.
Okay, so are you ready to make a health breakthrough? Being more specific, have you got any ideas at the moment? Like thinking, are you ready to stop health sabotage?
I think it's just what I was thinking of utilising it for was helping people to understand what habits are actually sabotaging their health. So yes. It's kind of around habits, but I wasn't quite sure whether to put that word in there or whether to use the word habits in the kind of description. So it could be something like, are you ready to stop your health sabotage? Take the quiz and discover which habits are actually contributing to you not feeling fantastic.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah, I like that as well. And things like the habit breakthrough scorecard. Yeah, the self-sabotage breakthrough scorecard. Yeah, so I like it. It's good. Fantastic. Thank you for that. So anyone else wants to talk about concepts? We're going to move on to landing pages now. We can jump back into that at the end. So thank you for sharing those with us. So once we have got the concept, we need to start to jump into the platform. So here we go. You will, once you've got into your account, you've got the option to start without a template or choose a template. So if there's a template there that closely matches what you'd like your scorecard to be based on, then I would recommend that you choose that template, and then we can tailor and change and fully customize to suit you. If there's not, then it's absolutely fine just to start without a template. Everything that we're going to cover will be relevant to both of those ways, whichever route you decide to go down. Once you have a scorecard within your account, we're going to come to the builder, which is the icon of the pencil and ruler. We're going to start today with your landing page. So you will have either the template default in your list, or you will have a plain default. So the other option that you can do is just click on that to start editing it, or you can create landing page. So here, and especially if you've started from scratch, there are just some structures that you could choose that you could start to use. I often quite like starting without a template, because then all of the different section types are available, so you can just pull in the most suitable one. You can have as many landing pages in your list that you'd like here. And in fact, if you're on the advanced package, you could also, under this experiment tab, split test landing pages. But one of them will need to be published and made your homepage, which will be the one that's connected to your scorecard. And if you click on this square with the arrow pointing out, this will enable you to preview your landing page. You'll notice that the URL is up here. So you get attributed a code initially, but you can jump into the platform. You can go to settings and you can amend the URL. So if you're on the starter package, you can amend this section here. And if you're on the advanced package, you've also got the option of a custom domain name as well, which you can organize by going to your account and then domains up here. Anyone needs any help with that, just let me know. Okay, so landing page wise, we can see once we've clicked on the page that we've decided to work on, we have the list of all the sections here. Now we can go to add section and all of these sections. So if you wanted to choose a different banner style, you could view all the different banners, for example. We've got some banners with the form that's also included on it as well. Otherwise, it's a pop-up form. Call to actions on the landing page will always be to take the test, but there's various different designs there that you can use. We've got different designs for testimonials, different designs for categories, so you can talk about what they're going to be measured against. We've got videos. We don't tend to see a lot of videos on the landing page because you don't really want to take people away. You want to sort of keep them on the page and then take them to the questions, but it is possible and it might be very useful when you come to deliver the results. You've got your advanced HTML and then you've got other content sections as well. So for example, this one, you know, can showcase the logos of the clients you've worked with or any awards that you've got. You know, the top section could see, you know, a little explanation about who you are, why you've created this scorecard. So lots of different options. Whatever section you then add, if you hover over it and you can see these dots here, you can drag and drop it into position. So you can start to structure it in the way that you'd like to. Once you're happy with this structure, click on each of the different section types and start to format. So on this one, this is the header. So this is where you include your logo and you can upload it from your files. Just while I'm here as well, this is where you can search for free images. So you could type in here and you can even click on that funnel to change it to icons, which can be useful if you want to have any help with your category icons, for example. So we've now uploaded that header. And we can click on the style and then we've got some more options. So we can make that logo bigger, smaller. You can choose whether to align it, you know, left, center, right. And this option as well, you can have it at the top or you can include it inside the first section. So if we had no background there, we just remove that background, you can see that it drops into that section, which is quite nice. So my advice would be just to jump into each of the sections, pop in your content and then click on the style, pop in your images and choose all your colors. So you can just save it. Again, make sure you've got a published page as well. So I'm going to talk through now what we typically recommend to go on that landing page in terms of content. So clear, credible and interesting copy, stating the time investment. So it's a good idea to say answer 20 questions in less than 2 minutes so people know how much time they're going to invest into taking the quiz. Be clear on the prize from taking the quiz. And we don't necessarily mean a physical prize, but just how it's going to help them. And that's all about the value in taking the scorecard. So what's in it for me? Why should I do it? How is it going to help me? Fluid branding throughout the landing page, through the questions, through to the results as well. We do recommend that you include some information about who's created the scorecard, so your target audience can start to associate it with credibility, you know, and link it to why you've created the scorecard. So, you know, we are Score App. We've produced this tool to enable you to get visibility on, you know, where you are with your lead generation and how you could further increase it. And that, you know, the ultimate benefit of lead generation, you know, is that you're going to increase, you know, your profits. So that's the ultimate prize there as well. Testimonials, you can include those. We'd recommend that they would be linked to how that scorecard has helped that person achieve their goal. And then if you've got any bonuses, so lots of our scorecard customers may have a book which they want to, include as an offer of taking the scorecard, or a PDF copy of the book. You might have tickets for an event or a webinar that they can unlock, for example, as an incentive for taking the scorecard. So these are the sections that we'd recommend, or the information that we'd recommend to, and landing pages are vitally important, because once you've driven the traffic to the scorecard, that landing page has to really hook your target audience in and really speak and resonate with your target audience. So has anyone got a landing page that they would be happy for me to sort of bring up and take a look at, whether you've just started it or whether it's up and running?
Feel free to use the link I put in the chat if you want to.
Oh, thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Okay. Oh, that's a support article, that one. Oh, yeah, sorry, that's Sarah, not you. Let's have a look. Is it further up? Yes. Lovely, thank you.
Yeah, that's it.
Do it, Prestige Software Startup Coach. So find out your software start readiness score. So are you ready to start creating your software startup? Find out if under 5 minutes if you're ready, and if not, what you need to be ready. So we've got, here's how it works, which is nice. Answer a few simple questions. So we could put an amount there, that would be nice. And we could state the time investment there as well. So answer.
I put 5 minutes at the top. You're suggesting repeat the time investment.
Okay, so 5 minutes. Are you ready to start creating? Find out in 5 minutes if you're ready or not. Yeah, I would answer a few simple questions, in less than 5 minutes. Discover your score, get a tailored, yeah, you've got that, get a tailored readiness score and breakdown. 5 minutes. Can I ask how many questions you've got?
Yeah, it's quite a lot, because it's about 40 questions.
Okay.
They are mostly yes, no, and some obviously multiple choice.
Okay.
But I'm looking forward to you having conditional logic, so I can remove some questions when they answer certain ways.
Okay. So is it targeted at cold leads?
Well, you say cold. I use LinkedIn a lot. I post on LinkedIn, so I think I've got a warm audience who know me mostly.
Okay.
It depends what you mean by cold leads.
Yeah. So I suppose if you were running, ads, to drive traffic, just because 5 minutes, we recommend fewer questions for cold leads. That was just what I wanted to sort of understand, sort of where you were sort of pitching the scorecard.
Yeah, I think these people really are invested. They want to start their startup, so I think they'll invest 5 minutes.
Okay.
They know me from LinkedIn, and I do a lot of posting, a lot of value posts. So hopefully there's that investment, appetite.
Okay, fab. Okay, so you've got, these are the categories that they're going to be measured against?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it would be a good idea to intro that. So use the score breakdown. This is what you're going to be measured against.
Yeah.
Just to help that flow into there. So what we could have here, I find that the headline could be sort of clearer because you have to read it a little bit.
Yeah.
So find out your software startup start readiness score. So are you ready to launch your software startup?
I can do, yeah. The sort of the label, the thing that I refer to in lots of places is the start readiness score.
Okay.
I could say, are you ready to start your startup? And then lower down, just say, take the start readiness score. Get your start readiness. Yeah.
Or you could call it the start readiness scorecard for software. The start readiness scorecard for software companies. Just trying to eliminate that second start. Find out your software startup
tricky.
start readiness score. So it would be quite nice because you've got that rocket as well. Are you ready to launch?
Discover your start readiness score from Sarah.
Discover your start readiness score, but we need to link it to that software, don't we?
Yeah, it needs to be software startup related. Yeah.
So your start readiness scorecard.
What about if I split it into two, you know, software startup idea, ? Discover your start readiness score.
Yeah, that could potentially work. So splitting it out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, or so your start readiness, the start readiness scorecard, you know, and even in the sub headline, you know, are you ready to start creating your software startup? So just making that sort of clearer. Maybe that could be your clearest second headline, and then you could drop this down a little bit. Yeah,
I understand. So 3 levels of headline effectively.
Yeah, I think that would be good. We've got the here's how it works. We're going to talk about the categories. What I would like to see is, you know, a little bit about yourself that's created it.
I added that as a to-do, just as you said earlier.
Yeah. And also sometimes it's nice to have a little bit more content about the situation. So, and that's what I talked about, in that you're sort of setting the scene and talking about the benefits of doing it. So, you know, if for example, you know, you've got this great product, you are, you know, thinking about starting your business, you know, this is going to help you to determine, you know, the areas that you need to make sure that you're ready. So it's just trying to sort of pull people in and speak to them in that way.
Okay, thanks. And it's early days. I only launched it sort of less than a week ago and did 1 or 2 posts on it. So, but I've got a 26% conversion rate, which I don't know if that's good.
Okay, so in terms of conversion rate, we'd like to see it tracking at least above 20%.
Yeah.
Which yours is. If it's less than 20%, it could mean that the landing page does need work, or the concept's not quite right, or the targeting's not quite right. So it's one of those 3 things. But definitely at that 26%, it's nice to leave it, you know, around 3 weeks, give it that chance to sort of make sure you've got some consistent data there. And then, you know, the beauty is of the platform, you can keep going in and tweaking it and optimizing it further.
Cool. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Anyone else would like to share their landing page? Just going to check the chat there. So you'll start readiness. Okay, great. So we're going to move on from landing pages. So if we go back to the platform, the next item we're going to look at is your questions. So you've got your concept, and if I just bring back up my slides, we're going to talk about questions. So great questions are really simple to answer. So yes, no is definitely the favored question in terms of, you know, it can be factual, you know, straightforward to answer, relating to a simple fact, you know, do you go to the gym 3 times a week? Yes or no. What we want to avoid is, you know, pushing for a sale, anything sort of too complex, too wordy, and anything that, you know, people would have to go and check. They don't know right there and then. Numbers of questions. So linking back to what we just spoke about earlier, if it's a cold lead scorecard, we would recommend fewer questions. So around 1 to 2 categories, 8 to 15 questions, and then increasing as you go through in terms of, you know, warmth of that audience. So next one, if they're warm, you know, 3 to 7 categories, you could go with sort of 20 to 50 questions. And then we have some customers who use them, you know, for onboarding with clients or in other ways with clients. And obviously then the sky's the limit in terms of the questions that you need to ask. So the questions are obviously going to give, the questions can spark light bulb moments in themselves for the person completing the scorecard. And you want to collect the data that you need as well to be able to fully understand, you know, where that person is on their journey. Categories are really useful when you want to break down the overall score, and it adds more value as well. So, for example, if you don't use categories, you're going to just deliver an overall score, which is great, and that might be relevant to lots of particular scorecards. For this example, which is a fitness one that we're looking at the moment, there are some obvious categories. So exercise, nutrition, sleep. So somebody can really start to see where their strengths and their weaknesses lie. And you can kind of see how this filters. So from the concept, is you want to help someone achieve your fitness goals. So the hook and the headline is discover your fitness score. You've got your 3 categories, and then you start to ask questions underneath each one of the categories that's going to help you or to show the person how they're doing against each one of those areas. So on the platform itself, your categories straightforward to add. You just go to add category here and give it a name. You don't need to worry about anything else. And then you can go and sit your questions underneath each of the categories. So you're probably in this view. I like to switch to this view here so I can see which category I'm adding the question to. And we've got a number of different formats. So yes, no, maybe. And the scoring can be quite simple. You could, yes, the positive answer scores a point and the negative answer doesn't point anything. It may be that no sometimes is the positive answer and that scores a point. You've got scales, and you can make those scales however big you'd like them to be. And however big they are, that's how many points are available. So a 0 to 10 scale, you've got 10 points. Wherever the user places themselves on that scale is how many points they've achieved. And then you've got multiple choice buttons. So that's a nice question format to use if you've got a short label. If you've got longer labels, you might want to go with the multiple choice radio button, but that one would mean that they put a tick in the circle next to the answer and then click next to go to the next question. And the multiple choice checkbox is the right format if you want someone to be able to pick more than one answer from the list, because you can set a minimum and maximum option count. And you've got open text as well. So the scoring works by adding up the total amount of points possible overall and per category. So say we had 10 points available in exercise, it will work out what the person taking the scorecard scored. So if they scored 5 out of 10, it converts that to a percentage and it decides what score tier they fall into based on the ranges that you have set under your score tiers here. So these are your default settings for score tiers. You can change them. You can add tiers. You can change the colors, you can change the labels. So sometimes it's quite nice to, if you're doing a burnout scorecard, low burnout risk, high burnout risk, it might be, needs focus or doing well. So you can use those labels as well to tailor. But then that allows us, those tiers allows us to deliver specific content when we get to the results. So has anybody got any questions or needs any help with scoring or the kind of questions that they'd like to ask?
Just a very quick one. Those score numbers, they're points, not percentages, aren't they?
They are percentages, not points.
They're percentages.
Yeah.
Right. Sorry, that wasn't clear from that. Thanks.
Yeah, no problem. So even if you're displaying the score in actual score, these ranges always need to be in percentages. Brilliant. Okay, so that is the scoring. Now we can move on to delivering the results. And this is your opportunity to really start to showcase, how you can help and how you understand, the issues that your customers are facing. So let's jump into the results page. You'll have a default results page in your list, which you can click to edit. You've also got the create results page here, which can give you different sort of formats. So it's always worth looking at. So clicking on the default version, I'm going to start to amend that. So it's very similar to the way that we built the landing page. I would recommend that you go to add section and you look at the different ways you can display that results. So if you're just delivering an overall score, then this percentage section is quite nice to use, or the speedometer. If you've got categories, then you might want to use the donut charts or the pie charts or the spider diagram. So I would recommend you choose the section that you'd like to use first. You've also got different ways of displaying the categories. So there's 3 different designs there. So the middle one is quite nice if it's a snapshot, whereas that bottom one can suit if you've got more content that you want to use on the results page. And that one also includes an icon as well. Under the individual category, these are the section types that are relevant to if you're creating a higher scoring personality test. So you can link all of these sections to that particular higher scoring personality or category. So once you've decided on the section type that you want to use, you can click on it. And this is where you can start to add your dynamic content. So you can slide it on. And then you've got your tiers here. So you might have different labels at this stage. You might have more than 3 tiers if you've changed that, but you can click on each one and you can add your content to suit. So it's quite nice to acknowledge their score. So, you know, congratulations if they've scored really well. You know, don't worry if you haven't scored so well. So it's all sort of delivering it with like really reassuring language that, you know, this is the first stage of being able to turn that around and that you've got loads of actionable tips that they could start to implement. So once you've plugged in your dynamic content for the overall score, we would generally then start to plug in the dynamic content for each of the category scores as well. So here, if I can click on each of the categories, I can slide on that dynamic content and then I can start to tailor this. So on this page, as well as, you know, acknowledging their score, describing the category, you might want to start thinking about giving them some hints and some tips. So if someone scored low, with their exercise, it could be, you know, you start off gentle with, you know, 10 minutes 3 times a week. Whereas if someone scored high, you could recommend, you know, that they make sure that they've got a certain number of strength workouts versus cardio workouts, for example. So you can see how the advice, you know, would be different. Typically, then we would feature our call to action. In terms of call to action, we have got a number of different designs. So you could feature, you know, if you had 2, you could sit them side by side. A typical sort of call to action would be to offer a discovery call, and then you can include your Calendly link and people can go straight to that. It may be that, you know, you have tickets or a resource that you want to share, you want to take them to a community, so you can link it to the call to action that you would like to take that person to next. You also could then add any other further content section. So if you wanted to add some testimonials about your company, more information, then, you know, feel free to go to add a section and, you know, pick up any of those content sections to sort of further strengthen the results page. The output at the starter level is this results page. The platform will fire off an email. So if you go to results email with a link back to that page so they can keep it, refer to it. If you're on the advanced package upwards, you also have the ability to develop a PDF. So that results page might become a snapshot and you might then create your PDF with more detail and drive the respondents to that. So when it comes to creating the PDF, we can click here. I always like to start without a template, and I will show you the different types of pages that we have. You can make this document as big or as small as you'd like it to be. You would go to add page, and then you'd start to get that structure set. So you could choose one of those 3 front covers. We have, typically then you might have an intro page. Then you might want to go on to talk about their overall score, show them how they scored in their categories, and then really drill down into each individual category. So you could have a page that describes it, and then a next steps to improve your score page. They can all be dynamic, so they can be relevant to how somebody scored. If you're building the PDF, make sure that you add a page for each category. And then when you've added your second one, you add the second category from the list. So sometimes people try and just change the category name just for one page, but it does need a page for each category. And then you've got call to actions, and you can finish with an outro page as well. So if anybody needs any specific help with building that PDF, just let me know. Also, then we would recommend that you integrate with a CRM system. So you've got this integrate feature on the blue bar. Here's our direct integrations. So we've got ActiveCampaign, Customer IO, HubSpot, Infusionsoft, Insightly, MailChimp, Ontraport, Zapier, and Zoho. Once you've entered your API, we'll open up some options for you to map across the data. You can map across the answers and the results. And that will enable you to plan some tailored follow-up sequences. We've got loads of great resources on our blog section of our website that even has some recommendations in terms of, you know, emails that you could send post completion of the scorecard. If you haven't got a CRM, you can click on your leads area here and you can export the data directly from here. So has anyone got any results page that they'd like us to take a look at before we move on? So Sarah's just shared that email sequence in the chat. So that's, thank you very much, that's Sarah.
I'm happy if you can take a quick look at mine, but I'm conscious of, you know, taking over the meeting and your time, so you don't have to if you don't want to.
No, that would be lovely. Thank you very much. We're on time, so that would be perfect. So
find one now. Can you look it up for me, or do I have to send one to you?
No, I'm gonna look it up. So
Thanks.
Here we go.
Well done.
Okay, so we've got published. Is it either one of those, or?
Sorry, hang on. No, it's the default top one. I've only got one results page.
Okay.
They were already published when I first installed.
Okay, so your software startup start readiness score. Congratulations for completing your assessment. Your results are in. We used your responses to our carefully crafted to gauge how ready you are to get started with your software startup. In this section, you can see you've scored overall in each of the areas. So below you'll find a breakdown. Below you'll find a breakdown, the two categories where you've scored highest and lowest. Is that in this section, you can see how you scored overall in each of the key areas. Below you'll find a breakdown. I think, is that
of the two?
Yeah,
yeah, missed out. Okay.
Categories where you've scored highest. Let's dive in and take a look at your results. So I like that. You know, it's your results are in. Congratulations.
I think it's one of your templates.
Yeah, it's nice. So this bit isn't using dynamic.
No, and I'm on the lower tier. I don't know if that affects what I can show.
It doesn't, no. You can still use that dynamic feature. So if you did want to optimize it anymore, you could definitely switch that on. And you could just put a little, you know, an acknowledgement at the top. Congratulations, great score. You know, if you fall in the mid-range, it's like generally you could say something lines on, oh, your score indicates you're doing well, but there's more you could do. And, you know, low would be like, don't worry.
I can help.
Yeah, I can help. So here's where you scored. So this is actually a really good example because we're doing here. So do you show all of the categories or?
No, I only show the highest and the lowest because that's what the template had. But what you've just shown me has opened my eyes a little bit to what else I can do.
Yeah. So what we have here is like the seesaw technique, which is what we really recommend. So you're showing them something that you've scored really well in, and then you're showing them, you know, where their opportunity is basically, because this is where you've scored the lowest.
Yeah.
And that's certainly a feature as well we recommend when you're following up those leads. You know, Daniel Priestley from Dent, when people have finished taking their scorecard, they have a team of appointment setters. And those appointment setters will use, you know, you've scored really well here, but we notice, you know, this is an area you could improve on, and that technique works really well. So like you say, you have got the opportunity to include the other scores here.
Yeah.
So just showing the highest and lowest might be, you know, if you had the PDF then where you'd featured all the results, so it would be quite nice to have that summary of all the results, but then still include the highest and lowest as well. Yeah,
you're right. Especially since the low tier don't get the PDF, although I'm in the process of setting up Zapier to auto-generate a spreadsheet with all the results and hopefully email to them.
Oh, that would be great. Want to improve your score and get started is a great, ready to help get started. So want to improve your score and get started. The Software Startup is a community of founders like you, ready to help and get started the right way, ready to help you get started. Here's some great testimonials below. So you've got your testimonials there, and then check out the Software Startup now. Your readiness score and your startup will thank you. So startup here, and that takes them to a community, does it?
That takes them to a page, the landing page, which allows them to find out more and sign up to the Academy. Okay,
great. So I feel like I want to move your call to action up a little bit before the testimonials.
Okay.
So you could almost have
another button.
Have another button. Yeah, so you switch it around. But yeah, that looks really good.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you very much.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. So when we've created this great scorecard that adds loads of value to your customers and it gives you loads of useful data, we have to think about it as a 3-step process. So you've got this great scorecard now, and now you have to drive traffic to the scorecard. And then once you've collected the leads, you need to follow up afterwards. So we're just going to talk a little bit about the promotional strategy now. I'm just going to head back to my slides. So this would be a really great opportunity if anyone's launched and they have got any questions about, help to sort of promote that, please feel free to ask. So Sarah's going to share a document in the chat called 29 different ways to promote your scorecard. If you haven't seen that already, it is a fantastic document. It's got loads of great ideas across, many different areas. So that's a comprehensive list. So please feel free to use that and dive into that. These are some top line ideas. So include the scorecard on your website. You could have it in the navigating bar. You could have it as a pop-up on your website. You could have it as a banner. So it's the URL for that scorecard that sits behind the link. There are other options, which I will mention. It's coming away from the promotion, but you can, if you want to bypass the Score App landing page, you can embed the form code straight into your own landing page. And you can embed entirely within an iframe on your website as well. So we do have a help article on embedding your scorecard, if that would be useful. So this section, number 2, using it on your email signature. This is basically anything that leaves your office. You can have the link to the scorecard, but it works really nicely as part of your email signature as well. Social media profiles. So you've got the opportunity to keep it there, post about it regularly, and also use it as the call to action for other posts. So just keep it's that continual effort of driving that traffic to the scorecard. So you're going to have that initial kind of drive, but it's just being consistent and trying different methods and keeping that momentum going. If you do any podcasts, videos, blogs, or books, posting the scorecard link as the call to action from that could be great. You get to find out, who's listened to your podcasts, who's written your book, read your book. Events and workshops. I think I mentioned this at the beginning. Scorecards can be really useful for those areas. Finding out, what the learning gaps are of people that are coming to your event, finding out, a before and after score of how people have taken from your event. As well as all those organic methods, you've got obviously advertising, so paid for advertising, so relevant to your target audience. You've got Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, LinkedIn, so all of those options as well. And then joint venture partnerships. If you can create relationships of mutual exchange where you can leverage other relevant lists, then that's also a great method of getting your scorecard there, as well as your own particular list as well. So is anyone gone in to launch their scorecard? Anybody want to talk about sort of what we could recommend from here, or need any help with the promotion side? No. Okay, so we've talked about conversion rates for when you launch your scorecard. So when you have, if you come to insights here, oh, that's yours, Stuart. So you select insights. This is where you're going to be able to see how your scorecard's performing. So you're going to see how many visitors have arrived at your scorecard, how many have gone on to start, and that will give you a conversion rate. So when you've launched, like, keep an eye on that, and reach out to us if you'd like any support with it. But like I said previously, it could be that the landing page needs a little bit more work. It could be that the concept needs sort of strengthening, or the targeting just needs to be more relevant. So going back to the platform here under the builder, there are some additional features which I will just run through before we just take any other further questions. So if you're on, well, in terms of lead form, you can choose to have the lead form before or after the questions. So you'd be able to change that here. You've got your settings here to make sure that you're being compliant. Obviously, the compliance rules are different in every area. The tools are here, but as you are the data controller, you would need to ensure that you have got the relevant settings there. If you want to add more first name, last name, email, already automatic fields, but you can add further fields just by clicking here, and there are a number of different options. So you could have it as a drop down, a text field, and then you've got your country, industry, and phone pre-populated fields there as well. Other things that are good to mention is this design tab here will show you one question and show you, so you can format it, and then the formatting you use on this will be applied to all of your questions. You have got this audience feature. Now, this is a feature of advanced, but what this allows you to do is create very specific results page experiences. So, for example, you can create a section on your results page that only a specific audience would see. So it's a little bit different to, whether you just scored high, low, or medium. You could pick out bits from each of the categories. So you could say, right, someone who said that they don't currently work out, but they would prefer to work out at home. You could create a results page with a free home workout video, for example. And it will show you everyone that fell into that segment. So that can be quite a really nice, useful feature. Under settings, this is where you're going to put your branding in initially, and that gets carried through to all of the different elements that you're creating, and then you can continue to brand it when you get to that particular area. The share appearance, if you fill this out, it controls the way it looks once it's shared on social media platforms, so that's a really nice thing to do as well. Your notifications, if you switch this on, you will be able to enter your email address, and you'll be notified then every time someone completes the scorecard. And you can even add, for example, the scorecard answers here. And so you'll have them, immediately on that email. And then if you're doing any sort of tracking, you can put your Facebook pixels, your Google Analytics, and your custom script codes onto this page that will be applied to the scorecard as well. I think there's one thing that I didn't mention here, and that's the abandon email. So if you switch that on, it will fire off an email to everyone that started but hasn't finished within an hour of no activity, and it will give them a link back to where they left off, so they can complete the scorecard. So that is, well, I think we've run through everything, which is fantastic. So I'll hand over to anybody that's got any questions before we jump off. But yeah, over to you guys. Can I help in any other way?
Can I ask something, please?
Yes, of course.
I'm thinking about, I'm like thinking in advance testing my scorecard, which is the best way to find qualified people to test my scorecard. Because, yeah, who is the right audience? Because I'm looking for the audience, but I want to test it before, so it's a little bit difficult.
Yeah. Have you got any existing customers that you could test it with?
Yeah, but not so many. So like a couple of people.
Yeah, so I would recommend sort of any existing customers. Also, I mean, we might not be your target audience, but we'd be more than happy to test it for you.
Okay, I think I read there's a Facebook group who is like testing scorecards.
Yes. So if you put it on the Facebook group, that would be that would be a great idea. And Sarah, if you don't mind sharing the link to the Facebook group. And yeah, so if you haven't joined, it's a really useful resource to be part of that community. Thank you so much for joining. And we have got our help desk. So we've got our live chat. So you'll notice the button when you're on the platform. So connect to us there if you need anything. We offer one-to-one calls. So if you are stuck with anything, please feel free to schedule a call. If you would like feedback on your scorecard, please feel free to share the link with us at support@scoreapp.com. And we'd be more than happy to help you. So yeah, hope this has been helpful. Thank you so much for joining us, and we hope that your scorecards are really successful. Take care, everyone. Thank you, guys.